Terminal Velocity Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andrew.
And I'm Scott.
And today we're going to talk about the big one, Zack Snyder's Justice League, a release that nobody thought was going to happen, that nobody thought existed, but then some of us did think it existed. And after a long campaign of nerds crying into the void, somebody answered that call, and the mother box opened right up and released on HBO Max.
Yeah, 4 years, I think it is. 4 years in the making.
2017 to 2021, right? Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just start out saying I kind of like the hashtag restore the Snyder Cut or Snyderverse. After this movie, after this 4-hour saga, I guess you could call it, I'm down with that. I want to see the continuation of this story. It's kind of what I thought, like when I saw the DC animated movie they put out after Justice League, where it was kind of the same. Oh, they lose, and it's like this post-apocalyptic world that they're gonna have to fight in. This movie kind of, sorry if you're watching the spoilers. There's a tease that nightmare vision might actually come to be, despite the events of this movie. I know I just jumped to the end, but I want to see the continuation. I want to see where he was going to go with it, like or dislike plot elements. There's definitely a vision to it. There's a style to it that I think, in my opinion, is more evident now that we've seen the kind of the branching off of the DC or the concept with Aquaman, which actually surprisingly holds up its connection to this movie more than I thought it would. There's the Flash that's coming out, which they've now restored the casting of Kiersey Clemens as Iris West, which originally they dropped her from it, and now they've brought her back just before filming, and as the impending release of Zack Snyder's Justice League was coming. And then we have the outlier, I guess that's Wonder Woman 1, where it did fit strongly with this chain of movies, to the recent Wonder Woman 84.
We'll just shovel that one to the side.
Ignore it. Left, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I got one question for you, Scott. Where was the golden armor and the wings?
Yeah, where was her flying jet? Where is any of those?
Where was her ability to fly?
Yeah, her ability to fly, to swing on lightning bolts, all that kind of stuff. I will say,
it tells the 80s. We didn't see the 90s movie yet, where she loses her memory and has to start over.
Exactly. I have to say that this is one of those scenarios where I have to eat shit on all of the smack that I talked about Snyder's Justice League movie, on it coming out and how terrible it was, and it's too dark and everything like that. I really enjoyed this movie. I really, really did. I struggle to understand how it would work in the modern cinemas. What you would cut down. Yeah, that's the thing. How you would cut it down to something that's more manageable for a theater. But as this 4-hour opus, this was everything I was hoping for. When you see the trailers and when you see what came out with Whedon's Justice League, it's still very much Snyder's Justice League. It's just stripped down and really neutered is what it comes down to. All the characters are neutered. You have no focus on Cyborg, which may or may not be a big problem. But, Cyborg's cut down. The Flash is cut down significantly. Aquaman is still fairly important in the Whedon one. But he's given just a little bit more room to breathe in this one.
I found that they amped up the surfer bro dude in the Whedon cut, for sure.
Very much amped that up. I'm still a huge fan of Affleck as Batman.
Oh yeah, I think he shines even more when you don't have the Whedon reshoots.
Yes,
like at the time that he's forced to kind of do those ones, you could tell he, like, especially looking back and knowing what was going on, he's having trouble in his personal life and
Yeah.
alcoholism and all that. You can see the difference.
Yes.
And man, even Wonder Woman was ruined and tarnished by Justice League. If you look at the comparison,
It really was.
like I love. Well, let me go. Let me put it this way: it's the same in my opinion. The same thing kind of happened to Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Is that if you watch the Ultimate Cut, which is 3 hour movie, versus the 2 hour and I don't know 40 minute
Yeah.
theatrical cut, there to me it's subtle changes, but it's a dramatic difference in your understanding of the movie and how it flows as a film.
Hmm.
It's got its critics. It's very dark and what it was telling.
It's by no
Um,
means a perfect or even necessarily a good movie. I still stand. I've watched the Ultimate Cut and I've watched the theatrical, and the Ultimate Cut is better for Batman v Superman (BVS), but it's still not a good movie, which was my main concern going into this one. Is okay, I've seen that Ultimate Cut and really all the added footage and things. Yes, it gives it more room to breathe and you get an understanding of more of the characters and it plays out the world a little bit more, but it doesn't necessarily add to that movie. This one, maybe it's because I don't know what footage he left behind, but everything seemed to go in there. And maybe it's just that nerd part where you're like, oh my God, Darkseid's in a movie. Darkseid is fully in a movie. Granny Goodness is in a
hey,
movie.
what's
Just
Thanos doing here? No.
yeah, like it you see his eye beams come out at one point. Like you see all these kind of cool things that happen. But it's still the thing that shocked me the most about the movie, kind of backtracking a little bit, is all of the main plot point isn't any different. The plot hasn't really changed drastically between the previous version and this new release.
It's like
But
broken telephone. It's like the same story being told by two different campfires across the country.
yeah,
One's got it got it really wrong, and the other one has a very long-winded version, but it's entertaining.
it is entertaining for all of its, slow-mo music video moments where all of a sudden some villagers start singing because Aquaman's there.
Single-handedly the weirdest part of the whole movie.
Just
And I've watched it twice already, and I've seen that scene 3 times because I actually started the beginning of the movie uh, to kind of just get a grasp of how the thing was going to start.
mhm.
And so I've seen the singing scene 3 times already.
It's
And I
very
still
strange.
every time it's just as awkward and strange, especially because I have no idea what they're saying.
Yeah.
But I remember my wife looking over my wife, and she's like, "What is happening?" And like, I don't know.
As soon as that happened, I was like, oh, this
Especially
could
when
go
she sits
very
there and smells
wrong.
the sweater, she's like, hmm.
Yeah, I had so many concerns at that
Because
point. I was
the
like,
smell of seaweed and barnacles must be great, really
oh,
attractive.
this movie could go very, very wrong very quickly.
Rated R. So like what I found is the same with BVS is that and this is that you can feel the studio interference and who knows what battles he lost with BVS like and what he wanted to actually do in that movie is like he clearly had a very long story to tell there as well.
Hmm.
Um, but he set up the seeds. Like you could argue that they crammed in the death of Superman. They did. There's too much going on in the one film, and I see. Especially after watching this Justice League, I see why he was getting that done in that film because he did have a kind of an idea of where he wanted to go with it,
Hmm.
and he needed those chips to fall in order to get there. Um, the problem is that like there's this half step where Warner's I feel was still and I think still are chasing the Marvel money. Like they're trying to chase. They want Avengers Endgame success without the buildup of Iron Man 1 through Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, they don't want the 10 years of work.
No, they kind of want that instant success, which is a problem in Hollywood, I think, in general. Is like they see an idea that's trending and everybody's jumping. So you get two movies about the same thing at the same time, usually.
Yeah.
Um, this movie, even with if you have the intermission in theaters, it does not. I mean, I shouldn't say it definitively, but I don't see how this could work as a theatrical sitting in your seat. I mean, sound and picture would be amazing,
Hmm.
especially on an IMAX screen. But it's different, and I think that part of it might be the way he's edited here. It might be also knowing that it's going to be on a streaming service.
I
Like
think that benefits a
I think
lot.
on the streaming service, it allows certain things to be forgiven, certain pacing. I could see where they thought it could work as a mini series, like if they broke up the six parts, like as they did, but they individually those parts would not have worked as as an episode, and then you have to wait till the next week for the next part. Like I don't think that worked. I think they realized that very early on. Um, Breaking it up into chapters though lets you, as somebody in your house and your own household, you can take a break or do whatever you have to do,
Hmm.
even just to break it up for your own self to be comfortable watching this. For me, I kind of actually sat through the whole for the whole 4 hours. I was
Oh
like
yeah,
locked in. um
yeah. I
I think
powered through
that I think
it.
this kind of thing is the future of movies on streaming. I think that especially if this is a success, then it would definitely will be. But
Hmm.
I think this format allows you to sit down and really explore a movie as a mini series, if that makes any sense. Without making it a mini series, it's giving it the length and the depth of a mini series, but in the form of a movie. And I think that I mean, I think this is the kick in the pants that the DCU really needs. I think that they could really take this and branch off from it. This is the highest I've ever seen a Zack Snyder film in critical response. They usually
Hmm.
attack and tarnish the man. I remember Man of Steel being 55% before it even released,
Yeah.
which is like I don't know how you could turn around and say whether you like it or not, right? That you can't turn around and tell me these movies are like as crappy as like some of those like thrown together comedies, like
Yeah.
that they'll give all this praise. Like you can't tell me Man of Steel is crappier than The Hangover 3. Like,
Hmm.
but Rotten Tomatoes might have you think that.
Yeah, I think this movie definitely succeeds because of the streaming platform, because of the world we're in right now. I think this is where it succeeds. I still don't know how it's going to necessarily recoup anything. I hope to God that they release it for purchase because I want to own this.
Oh, it
Um,
is happening. They did announce
they
that.
did finally announce it. Okay, great. So as soon as that's out, I will be purchasing that. And I have a hard time believing that they won't use this as a reboot of some sort.
The critical response is huge. If the streaming numbers are huge in the subscriber base, it's definitely going to shift some gears over at Warner Brothers. Like it's
Mhm.
cash on the table. Like they're not gonna like.
And I know
There's gonna
Snyder's
be
come out and
there are egos that play involved, and I'm sure that people that really didn't want to see this come out. I mean, you look at the marketing. It's like the main Warner Brothers channel didn't even market this. Like it's like they
Mhm.
didn't want it's kind of an embarrassment to them.
Well,
Um,
they're eating
but
shit on
we're
it. They're
as
eating shit on
fanboys,
the whole concept.
they
Like
should
the
realize that if you give us something good, we forget about the last thing fairly quickly. So I don't know about you, but like in retrospect, even just having seen this, what Snyder's vision could have been versus like how it's branched off since then with things like Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of Harley Quinn or Suicide Squad. I really hope that Suicide Squad gets this treatment on HBO Max because apparently it's a completely different film as well, a much more grounded film and a much more a film that makes more sense as opposed to yet another Sky Portal type situation. And I'd be curious to see what they wanted to do with that film versus what happened with that film, where they wanted it to be something it wasn't, where they were chasing Guardians of the Galaxy with it. So much so that they've now gotten James Gunn to direct the follow up. Like they
Hmm.
really want Suicide Squad to be their Guardians. So, but I am curious to see what David Ayer had in mind, because I think his vision was probably more in line with something that fits the Snyderverse.
Hmm.
Uh, and I like calling it the Snyderverse because it is like currently it's not canon, which is tough to say. It's like like Justice League, as some people are calling it, is currently canon. There's no reason that they can erase that and slot this in instead, because there's nothing in this that truly contradicts
Hmm.
the DCU at this point. Uh, except for maybe Wonder Woman 84 and maybe Birds of Prey kind of sort of doesn't fit. But I mean, there's the multiverse coming up with the Flash, and any kind of thing that doesn't make sense, you can kind of just explain as, oh, it's been reset or adjusted.
Well, I
Uh,
love the fact that they actually
magic.
mentioned the multiverse in this movie,
Mhm.
where they actually dropped the fact that there is a multiverse. So it is something that they could explain away in whatever format that they want.
So, do you want to talk about the plot of the film in order, or do you want to talk about it just what comes to mind?
Um, let's talk about some major story beats. Let's talk about kind of major events, characters that got more play in this one than they actually got in the Whedon one. People like the Flash, people like Cyborg, and I can understand now why Ray Fisher is. I understand the
Devastated about the theatrical release. His
yeah,
whole performance was cut out.
his entire performance was cut out on top of whatever abuse may have been actually faced on set. But his character was basically erased from the movie
Hmm.
and given no real part in the theatrical release, which must come from a world of they don't like the Cyborg character. Much like myself, I think Cyborg works perfect in Teen Titans Go. I don't necessarily like Cyborg as a character anywhere else. And him replacing Martian Manhunter in the Justice League has always been something that's bothered me. It's a very new 52 type of thing, but he had a place in this story and he was actually integral to the actual overall plot of this kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, I still don't necessarily think his dad necessarily needed to die in this movie, but
Spoilers.
but yeah, I mean, this entire episode is a spoiler. So if you haven't seen the
his his
the
dad's
movie,
death, Silas Stone's death, is a step up above,
yes,
just a step up.
just an incremental step
Because
up.
you can see he had no choice; he couldn't go anywhere, so like he had no choice. Where it was
Yeah,
laser beams instead of an oncoming tornado, and Cyborg's not as fast as Superman,
yeah,
but it was a no, son, you're
yeah,
good without me.
yeah. So I mean, Cyborg had a really big
This is a
part, and
lesson. This is my final lesson to you. Total
um,
grief.
but I mean, so seeing that kind of, I can understand more about the behind the scenes stuff about why he's angry, on top of the abuse stuff. Like I could see that being just a compounding thing of not only did you treat me like shit, but you totally destroyed my performance. I totally understand that, um, and all of that light that's come out about that world. I'm still confused by the introduction of some of the Flash's stuff, like him going to the dog grooming place to get a job, and doesn't really fit in with the story at all. Like that's a cutting room floor type of scene and situation. Um,
It's a human moment for him, but like it's like I like it. I think it was really just to show you where he's at in his life at that stage. Did it have to be in the movie? No, I don't. I think that the movie would have been fine without it.
yeah,
They wanted to. They wanted to showcase him meeting, I guess, like the first meeting of the love of his life, combined with showing you where he's at, where it's like one of like 4 or 5 jobs that is mentioned, like when he's
mhm.
odd jobs that he's talking with his dad. And I'm thinking, like, okay, if you're at the level of 4 or 5 odd jobs to pay for a degree, why aren't you just getting a proper job? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Why not get an actual job? You're spending more time at four places than you would at one.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like but going back, getting back on track. So, like one of the first things I noticed in terms of the is actually within the first 5 minutes. I really liked how the all three like the movies, Man of Steel, BVS, and this kind of interconnect. I
Hmm.
do like how they overlap as well. So like you had at BVS, you had it cut back a few minutes into where BVS left off, where it's like the battle in Metropolis happening,
Hmm.
shown from a different perspective. I like how in the Snyder cut here, instead of the goofy robber scene that was added to the intro,
Yeah.
uh, you have it going back to the final battle with Doomsday, where Superman and Doomsday have impaled each other and are dying. And one thing that I thought was really unique and interesting idea is that this Superman is essentially his death cry when he's at his most the most pain. It's just he's not holding back anything. It sends off like a sonic shock wave,
Hmm.
which is what wakes the mother boxes as like kind of like the bell has rung
Yeah.
thing that Luther says at the end of BVS is like so awesome. Like it's really that was
Hmm.
the bell that he's talking about, and it triggers the mother boxes to signal to Darkseid and his minions that the world is vulnerable.
Hmm.
The protector's dead. Um, and then we shift to like I think it goes to it shows you that in that sequence it's like the Amazons, they're all in that vault guarding the thing, and like the slightest shift and everyone's like on guard, and it's
Hmm.
you could feel the tension and fear, like not fear but like the resolve to like to
Yeah.
contain this. um 100 times better than what we got with the Amazons in the Justice League. The problem with Justice League is they wanted a 2 hour movie no matter what, at no matter what expense.
Hmm.
And so that movie was like, okay, we don't want Darkseid because we're not doing a sequel to this. We just want to cut and run. Basically, it was the cut and run movie. They decided they weren't going to pursue this direction. There are already hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank for it.
Hmm.
So they're just like, let's just get something out and cash out, which is what I think is really what they did. So they tweaked Steppenwolf to be a generic fucking I'm gonna take over the world villain, and it's like literally he's like boom, get mother box, mother box, mother box, conclusion, and it just quickly scrapes over like the story beats that Snyder had clearly set out.
Yeah.
So when you get the Amazon sequence, and not only that, sorry, I'm gonna backtrack a second. The color palette in this also, even though it's darker, it's a more monotone, flat tone colors. The footage looks better and makes more sense this way because it's what he was intending.
Hmm.
With the theatrical cut, they had all the color corrections to amp up the brightness and the colors, and it always looked kind of weird. Now you kind of see why. It's like because they were adjusting the colors.
Hmm.
I think this way suits it a lot better. Um, but with the Amazons, it's so much more involved, so much deeper, and even like the way the events play out is slightly different. Um, the battle seems more important,
Hmm.
and it wasn't just that who pops in and gets the box. It's like he had to actually he really had to fight for that.
Yeah.
Um, the I love how it's like every Amazon's just grabbing onto this thing, and like it looks like it must have been shredding them because the armor is just like millions of spikes, and they're always like moving and twitching and
Yeah.
protecting his body. Uh, I like that it wasn't just like Hippolyta's like, okay, seal the gates, and off she runs with the box like we got in the theatrical cut. It's like you saw like the pressure on her and the heartbreaking decision to like to basically sacrifice her sisters.
Hmm.
And it's like the sister's like the one that's get dying is like she's like no, honor us and seal it,
Hmm.
giving her that reassurance. And just sealing it isn't even closing some caving in some doors and like, oh, I'm sure they're fine inside. No, the whole fucking thing collapses and sinks into the ocean.
Hmm.
And then you get a moment to breathe where she's like realizing what she's had to sacrifice. And then the enemy attacks again. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it definitely plays out a lot, like you say, a lot more theatrically and a lot with a lot more gravitas behind it. Like you feel the sacrifice that they're going for. You feel the struggle that they're having with Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf.
You you just feel everything that is happening at that stage. It carries the weight of the moment, and you get the feeling that, okay, Amazons aren't just a pushover. The Amazons are really a powerful force, because like you say, they like just jump on him, and he's got 10 of them on him at one point, and he's struggling to stand in that kind of thing.
And
Like you see
every
the
single one of them is ready to die, ready to
yeah,
sacrifice themselves in any way to succeed in their mission. It
yeah,
really gives you a feeling of stakes in the movie. Like there is like this is like world ending level. Like, it doesn't matter if I live or die. We have to stop this kind of where it's like
mm-hmm.
you kind of get that with the theatrical one, but it's very glazed over
It's
and
very much glazed over, and you're right. It's
get
I
away
think
from it.
it's fun watching this, having seen the theatrical, because you're able to be like, okay, oh, this is how the scene should have been. And
Mm-hmm.
you get that, and you get the weight behind it. And that's basically what this entire movie
So
is,
it enhances the
oh,
whole. Yeah, like it gets bonus points just for like, we get you.
yeah, I got
Like
it now. I got that now.
the
Um,
I'm gonna say something that might get me in trouble, but like I also like Snyder's Amazons better than I like Patty Jenkins' Amazons. Like
yeah,
it's like,
they're
sure
actual
they're wearing skirts
Amazons.
and their armor and stuff and they look sexy or whatever, but it's not the point. Like I never felt like they were being objectified at any point. It's like they were strong and sexy and all in one. Like it didn't feel like, oh, here's a sex object and fawn over
Mhm,
it. It just it fit, and like the armor all matches in Wonder Woman's armor. Like it's a culture, a race.
mhm,
Whereas like in Wonder Woman 84, we've got the yoga pants summer retreat Olympic Games thing where everyone's wearing pants and nobody has the like. It just seemed weird to me.
yeah.
Um,
No, I
and
like
that's
Snyder's.
fine,
I
but
like
it's like
Snyder's Amazons as well.
I
They feel
there's
like
a
warriors.
yeah. Like I don't, and like I've even heard, or sorry, I've read articles of some of the performers who were proud to show themselves off because of the hard work they put into sculpting their bodies. Like the hammer girls that come in to like take out the thing, and I wish I more jacked than I'll ever be.
Mhm.
Uh, I'd be proud of that too.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of them, and Snyder's obviously like a CrossFit guy and comes from that thanks to 300 and everything. So a lot of those people are actually CrossFit stars. Quite a few of them
Okay.
are from that realm. So they're quite happy to show off because they have been spending a lifetime, or at least the majority of their life right now, dedicated to being these kind of pinnacles of fitness. Um, no, but I agree. I think the Amazons, I think that's what it comes down to, is they're not just pretty things to look at.
Mm.
They are they're portrayed more as the warriors, and kind of with that kind of respect and gravitas that they carry in the comics, where it's, oh shit, the Amazons have shown up. That's a big deal. That's not just, oh, look at them, they're kind of cute with their little skirts and
Well,
stuff.
not, I
It's
mean, I kind of get that vibe from the Wonder Woman 84. It's like, oh, they're just like cute girls having Olympic Games. Like
mhm.
so many. It's a whole other discussion to get into that movie, but it's like, yeah, I'm gonna save it for,
Okay,
for
so
another
let's
conversation.
talk about. So that's kind of the main story beats. The plot hasn't changed. Steppenwolf shows up. He has more struggles getting the boxes
He's also
than,
more of a brute than as like a mastermind, which I liked
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
better.
He is very much just a dangerous object pointed at an obsession and let loose on it. But to that point, what I liked about it is that
It didn't
he is a
love me.
minion. You can't really see him. Yeah, there you go. He's a minion of Darkseid. So Darkseid is still pulling the strings, and I love that you get the callbacks, and Desaad shows up and is like, okay, have you done the thing you're supposed to be doing yet? No, what is taking you so long? Like I love seeing the puppet masters behind everything. I
I was gonna
also
say I loved Desaad being in this. Like,
I love Desaad being in this. I loved the fact that the anti-life equation gets mentioned in this, and that it's on Earth, and that's what the whole thing is. That it's that's why Earth is important to Darkseid and is important to the mother boxes and this kind of thing. Like it's got that through line of what would have been Justice League 2 and 3 or whatever, however many we would have gotten. I loved having that expansion on the DC universe that this provided. So you got that same story beat. Mother boxes, take them over, world is destroyed, and then that's that.
But we're missing the Russian family that's just in
I was so happy not to have them in
the
there.
ground zero.
I really loved the parademons look better in this than they did in the other one. They're more bug-like in this one. And for some reason that works for me, even though that's not necessarily what they look like in the comics, but it
I was
works.
quite happy with them being more insect like. They're
Just
like those little like gnats, little midges or whatever that you have in
yeah,
Meg. Get
yeah,
away.
yeah. It was really good. So I really
And yet
liked
they did
that.
seem more intelligent in this.
A lot more intelligent, and they
Like
were.
even though they were little minions and they were like their fodder, right? But
Mhm.
they seemed more competent.
But
If that's fair.
and they're not just following Steppenwolf's orders.
Mhm.
Like when Desaad and that show up, they bow to Desaad. They don't bow to Steppenwolf. They do as he says because he's kind of in
He's like on
charge.
their level. He's like like the lieutenant. Like it's
Yeah, but they
yeah,
yeah, you just get that kind of play.
or
Um,
captain maybe.
yeah, there's just it's the thing that's great about this that I don't think I can stress enough until somebody sits down and watches it is it's all the small things
Hmm.
that build up on this. If you've seen the theatrical one and all of the things you didn't like about it, they're all corrected
Well, it's
for
like
the most part.
even Bruce Wayne's mission to go find Aquaman.
Hmm.
It's like that's how we're introduced to Bruce Wayne. It's not like he like grew a haggard beard and then decided to go mountain climbing, right? Like
Yeah.
he's on this mission climbing the mountain. They even tell you it's like the choppers were frozen out 6 weeks ago or whatever.
Hmm.
It's like he literally had to go on an expedition to get to this remote village. Aquaman is spotted on the king tide, as they said, and that whole scene plays out better. Like it doesn't have like that goofy. It always bothered me in the theatrical where it's like they're like in the room and then they look back and on the wall there's like he's like, "Have you seen Aquaman?" And they're like, "No." And then you look and it's like a little mural because they're such primitive, stupid people, and they wrote like
Yeah.
a drawing of clearly Jason Momoa helping them, like like they're
Yeah.
tribal. Like, what are they from the Dark Ages? Like they just
Yeah. It's insulting.
and they're using even a line in where it's like we're not stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. We may be poor, but we're not dumb. So don't
Yeah.
treat us like it. Um, yeah, there's just it's not flawless. There's still, I
No,
mean, there's still problems with the plot itself. Um, but
we
all
hung
of
on that song just a little too long.
yeah, and there's a lot of slow-mo in here that I don't think is needed. um, there's
It's his thing,
extensions of music videos, like it's a very Snyder movie. Um,
It's not Sucker Punch level, like
no,
like
it's not. It's
I,
not.
I can see the argument against the slow mo. I do. I feel like it's like it's kind of the way he wanted to represent some of the things, so that you kind of breathe in
Mhm.
the action a little more. Because like if you did it like the let's say the Michael Bay way, where it would literally just be things happening on the screen, and
Yeah,
then it's over, and you're like your brain doesn't even know how to like even process what
process.
you just saw. It's like it's very like the opposite. It's like you're really processing what's happening on the screen, maybe too much.
Mhm.
I liked. A lot of people like praise the Justice League version for having punched up humor and everything, and it did, but not by a lot.
No, not by a
Like
lot. I was surprised by
he
that.
had like he had like the locker room humor, like where Flash stumbles and falls on top of Wonder Woman, like that stupid scene from the original. Whereas
Which,
like
given what we know now, I mean,
it's even worse.
it makes that scene so much worse.
Yeah.
It was already offensive, but now it takes it to a whole new level.
Yeah, and it's like I'm here. I was reading things that were Joss Whedon wanted to see. I don't know which character it was. Presumably it was Superman's resurrection. He wanted you to see him nude or whatever. Like he had this really seems to be like he had this thing with the Vision too, and Age of Ultron. He wanted to have like you be able to see his penis or whatever. And just like, dude, just chill out.
Yeah,
Like,
why? Actually, that brings me to a point that I wanted to talk about. There's 2 points that I want to get your insights on.
mhm.
Um, the resurrection of Superman, that is almost beat for beat the same in both movies, with the resolution being the only difference.
Well,
Um,
did in the original, I don't think they didn't use the mother box,
yeah,
did they?
they did, and the Flash had to supercharge it in order to get it.
For some reason, that part, you're right, but I don't know that part. It felt different. Like I know that okay, so the moral debate was definitely different.
Hmm.
They had in the Justice League version there was more of like is it right to do this, and you had Wonder Woman against it and you had Aquaman kind of against it,
Hmm.
whereas this is almost like a unanimous decision. It's like, yeah, no, we need this guy.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed Ben Affleck's Batman. Like without him, there is none. There is no six. Like he's like without
yeah.
six, there's none of us.
I
We're
loved
just
his I loved his one line with Alfred, where it's like, Alfred says the whole thing about, don't, if you're not ready to take on the charging bull, don't wave a red flag at it, or don't wave a red cape at it. And he's like, yeah, but the difference is this red cape charges back.
yeah. I really
So
like Batman's fanboy moments for Superman better in this version than the Joss Whedon version. Like
mhm.
it's like I don't know. It didn't compromise Batman's character. It's still it was more like Batman finally believing as opposed to like having like a bromance.
Yeah.
And man, basically it's like Batman, like you said, he's operating on pure faith for the first time, as
Mhm.
opposed to just his base logic, which is what he's always been like. I've got to, you know, everything runs on logic.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Um,
I was curious how you felt about that, how you felt about the fact that Lois just happens to show up, and that kind of is what
well,
that kind of thing at least is what calms him and grounds him back.
I do like that. I actually do like it better that she was just shows up, and let me explain that. I thought it was kind of cheesy how it's like they're like, oh, he's gonna wake up and he's gonna be all messed up, and we better have the what did they call it, the wild card or something like
Yeah.
that in
The
place, and it's like,
the
oh,
big
we'll
guns.
go the big gun, we'll just scoop Lois up, and that'll surely snap him out of it. Like that to me is like you had to be like a fan of comic books for 40 years to like know the beat for beat how Superman
Hmm.
would react to Lois Lane's appearing. I didn't buy that version. I also think that this version makes more sense with her just being there, is because it ties into two other things previously brought up in the movie. One, that's how they established Lois Lane, as her daily routine is going to the memorial site to
Hmm.
essentially grieve. So it was like it's set that that's what she does daily when she gets out of bed.
Yeah.
Two, that specific day or whatever, it was like the day after quote Martha goes to see Lois and inspires her to pick up her life again. Like it's time to. So
Hmm.
she's going back for one more final visit to the site before she's already like literally and figuratively picked up her badge to go back to work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like any movie, it's a bit of a cliche, the timing in which they show up and this is going on at the same time. But I mean, it's like Superman catching Lois from a falling building. Like it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
I think it work. Like honestly, think it works better because I think I I like that he's thrashing the league in his confusion and the chaos of being resurrected the way he was. I like that it takes her to snap him out of it. Like 100%, that's what you would need to do. In fact, that the whole basis of of Superman in this world apparently is Lois Lane. So
Mhm.
there's a flaw to that too, which we can talk about, like the whole nightmare thing. Um, because I mean, it kind of makes me feel like Ma and Pa kind of failed in his upbringing. He's emotionally weak. That he'd immediately turn to the dark side, literally. The
Yeah.
more he loses his partner, but
Well, it's
yeah,
because
for
she's
me,
pregnant, right?
well, that's the new.
I mean, that's the big twist on that storyline is that she's pregnant potentially. No
Well, I
resolution to
mean,
it, but
Snyder has said that yeah, she is pregnant. Outside of the film, but I guess like the two zoom ins on the pregnancy test is the indicator to you that that's which would explain her level of grief
mhm.
being what it is too. He had some interesting ideas I've read since this came out, like about like the son actually would have become Batman in the third Justice League movie or something like that. Strange choice, but
Okay.
whatever. I mean, I'm sure his sequels are all a ton of floating ideas at this stage. There's no
Well, and he
real
said he's not interested in doing any more superhero
there's
movies.
conflicting stories actually, because some were saying that he hasn't given up hope on sequels. So
If this
who
does
knows?
well enough, I can see this being in there.
If
And
the dump
this,
truck comes onto the lawn and does,
yeah, there is one part of this that I'm curious before we wrap anything up. I want to get your ideas on the shoehorning of the Martian Manhunter and kind of how you feel about that. Because that seemed to come, that is one of those ones where it's like, I say shoehorning because it's very much a, well, here's an idea and I'm going to stick it in here with no build up, no history behind
you
it.
know, for for the average goer, I was thinking about this too. For me, it wasn't a shock or a surprise because I remember hearing rumblings of this idea of his from way back, even like with like when he first walked away from Justice League, that was the thing that he wanted to do. And I believe it to be true because he also implanted that character from the beginning for Man of Steel,
Mm-hmm.
kept him around for Batman v Superman, very much like, and you cast that kind of an actor, he has the gravitas to be Martian Manhunter. I kind of do believe that he was always intending it. Um, the way it plays out in this movie, it does come out of nowhere because there's no, how do you put it there? There was no time to do any true
Mm-hmm.
build up other than that reveal. But I mean, like I could see how that character would be there to aid Lois and coming back, as him and Lois kind of had kind of that
Yeah.
relationship bounce back and forth since Man of Steel. Um, him being at the very end and he shows up to Bruce Wayne there, and it's like he's like, oh, I have a stake in this world and everything. There's a little jarring because they clearly do the sonic boom to make you think it's Superman landing, and then it's like, oh, surprise, it's Martian Manhunter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, jarring, yes, but I do think it ultimately works. And the question that it presents, though, is do you need Cyborg if you have Martian Manhunter? And that all depends on how big they plan to expand. They would plan to expand the league beyond. Well, I mean, I guess you kind of do need to expand to be a league beyond
Mm-hmm.
6 people. So
And what did you think about the introduction of the Atom?
I liked him. It's a shame that we'll probably never see him unless they really
Mm-hmm.
uh, pursue this direction again. But he was a fun character. It's just yeah, like he was like completely axed from the other movie, so it's like
Yeah.
he seemingly coming out of nowhere, but he was actually originally supposed to be there. So I liked him. I thought he could have had room to grow in the sequel. Um, yeah, no, definitely. I definitely liked it. I would have liked to see like a real Green Lantern show up as well.
Yeah. I would have liked that as well. I mean, you see a in the and the nightmare sequence is what we're going to talk about next, but the nightmare sequence having a dead Green Lantern in it. The previous foreshadowing of when Darkseid showed up, and I preferred Darkseid being the one that showed up versus Steppenwolf. But when Darkseid showed up and a Green Lantern being there as well, I like those little callbacks.
Okay, so
It does
let's
present
talk
the
about that
problem
then.
of okay, so where the hell is the Lantern of Sector 2814 or whatever it is? Like, where the hell
Dealing
are
with
they?
Parallax.
Yeah, dealing.
Parallax was attacking at that time. Um, yeah, let's talk about the not the nightmare sequence. Let's talk about the flashback to the epic
Okay.
Battle of Man, the Lord of the Rings moment, if you will, of this movie.
Yeah.
It's like Zack Snyder literally watched Lord of the Rings and was like, I want to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I love those
And
helmets, those
you know what?
crowns.
I still loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
I love that it's fully more fleshed out. I love it's forget it's a Steppenwolf waging a war. It's like it's Darkseid in his youth, like
Hmm.
going to prove himself and attacking, and it's he's just laying waste to the legions of man and Atlanteans and Amazons and
Well, for
even
once
Green Lantern.
it was actual legions of men. It was it was people from all races, creeds, colors, everything. It wasn't just,
It
oh,
was Earth fighting
yeah,
back.
yeah, it was Earth fighting back. It wasn't just there's some barbarians, there's some Amazons, and there's some Atlanteans. Like it had that fleshed out thing, like you say, and the gods being in there still was really
I
cool.
kind of enjoyed that. It's like I like what a brute Ares was, and they kind of got a guy. I don't know if they tweaked his face or whatever. He kind of
Hmm.
looks like the guy that was could have been the younger version of the guy
Yeah.
that was Ares in Wonder Woman. Uh, I just I man, so it was just an epic battle, like just everybody fighting like to the death
Hmm.
to stop this threat, and it's like the only thing is I could say is like Zeus looked like it was like on replay, like the way he charged up his powers and blast. It's like it looked like kind of the same shot
Yeah.
reshown the way he do it, but I still liked it. I still liked it.
Hmm.
Like it's everything Earth has going against Darkseid, and it's like his biggest failure. Like it's like I like the areas that just comes down with the axe, and it's like I just pictured what my wife was saying. It's like he goes for the head.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's not.
Exactly. Just sticks it straight in, shatters this thing. Yeah, it's very much like that.
I said to my wife, it's like they should have had him have the line. He's like, "I go for the head," you know. Shots fired, Marvel. No, but
Yeah. I like it better as Darkseid being there because it makes more sense that it's
yeah, like what is Steppenwolf without Darkseid? Like it's first of all, it's like Steppen who like
yeah.
um even when they first announced that, I had to remind myself who that character was. Like that's how like what is this guy kind of
Hmm.
character. Um but that scene was just epic. I like that the Green Lantern got even more of a little focus, and it's like greatest power in the universe. Oh, and his hand gets severed off.
Yeah. The hand goes
I do
away.
like that they take the time to show the ring has to go and find a new host. I do like that that part is included, and I
Hmm.
think that was also sort of in the theatrical cut too. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just like seeing like Darkseid is just laying like waste to troops, and it was just kind of epic and awesome.
There's brutality in
Okay.
this movie,
Oh
I think
yeah,
is the other thing. The level of brutality in this is
the sheer
just
amount of
even,
violence is crazy
yeah.
on both sides, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah. And it's funny because when we were first watching it and we're first hearing it, like I said before, it was like, oh, I don't want it so dark. I don't want it so gritty. But then we had the Justice League where it wasn't dark and it wasn't gritty. And it's like, no, okay, I guess that fits better.
I like the DC movies being a counterweight to the Marvel ones. I'm not saying that Marvel doesn't get dark. I mean, they
Well,
vaporize half of it.
DC Comics crises, every crisis they have is dark as hell. Like the
Yeah,
stakes are there. You've got, I mean, when Superboy Prime shows up, he's just ripping people apart left, right, and center. Like there's a level of brutality in the comics that I
it's
guess
just
that
the
I never
love
thought about, but it does translate. It's
because the bright colors are there, right? But like
but DC is far more brutal than Marvel is. in their comics when it gets to these major events.
Yeah. I am so glad to see this version because it does feel like the counterweight that I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see the DC version of Marvel. Like I don't get me wrong. I want the shared universe. You can have that, but I don't need Marvel just with reskinned as DC. I want to see the type of stories that DC can tell that Marvel can't.
And that leads us perfectly into the nightmare sequence.
Yes,
And what were your thoughts
perhaps
of
the
the
most
expanded?
controversial sequence.
Yeah, the expanded thing. I will say that I loved it. I loved seeing. Well, I don't understand the Flash's costume in it, but I love seeing like Mira in it, and she's talking about what's happened and how she wants to avenge Arthur, and she's carrying around jugs of
Let me
water with
pause
her.
your thought there for a second, specifically with Mira. There's no way to ignore it with the controversy with Amber Heard and everything going on, and like there's
Yeah,
a campaign to have her fired from Aquaman 2. And initially, I was like, I'm okay with that, but and on second thought, I like the character enough that I'm willing to just forget about in the moment the real world
well, I'm
implications of the actor. Like, I'd rather the consistency and like, again, I can't be upset with cancel culture if I'm going to subscribe to cancel culture one way or the other.
mhm.
Uh, as far as the movie, like she's the character, she plays the character, she does it suitably, and I don't know, Mira's kind of a bitch too, right? So,
Well, yeah,
I love that character, and I have to say I do enjoy her performance as the character, and I don't want to see it change. I guess the performance is enough that I don't think of the real world. I'm not seeing Amber Heard as Mira. I'm seeing Mira on the screen. If
yeah,
that makes
I'm
any sense.
I'm less tied to who's playing the character as I am to just having the character in there. Um, so long as we don't go from like a Katie Holmes to a Maggie Gyllenhaal type of scenario, because
I
that
hate
didn't make sense to
recasting in
me.
general. In general, to be honest with you, I like the Marvel gets away with it quite often. Um, I'm not as big a fan of like I don't. It's to me, it's jarring to see somebody
It
else playing the part after it's already established.
it depends entirely on how that person steps in and whether the character like the to go back to my comment that I just made, the reason that one sucked was because the character then just becomes completely neutered and was turned into an object that two people were fighting over.
Yeah, and it's because
If
you
they
can't really.
recast, if they recast the character, but the character is expanded and is still given the gravitas that they had in the previous movies, then I'm less jarred by the moving on.
I mean, sometimes it works. Like you got oh my
Cheeto.
word. Yes, Don Cheadle uh stepping in for War Machine. He definitely made the character his own,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't picture Terrence Howard playing Rhodey at all at this point.
Yeah.
But or even like we got Edward Norton and Mark Ruffalo. It's like they got it right the second time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think you need to do that with Mira. I don't think she. I think it would be more harmful to the picture overall to replace her and have that risk of it being a jarring change, as opposed to like these are relatively fresh characters for audiences. I don't think that you're going to bring in somebody else that's going to like run away with the role, if that makes any sense.
I think it depends entirely on how big the role turns out to be.
Mhm.
Like if Mira turned into a major plot character in the second Justice League movie or the third at this point, I don't know what it would turn into.
Well, to me, it looks like that's the way he was kind of wanting it to go.
Yeah,
If Mira is just the kind of be Aquaman's girlfriend kind of thing, then I guess you could get away with it. But I don't think that's the way they're going to go with it.
mhm.
Sorry, I totally derailed the conversation.
That's okay. That's
Uh,
okay. What did you think of the actual nightmare sequence with the now reintroduction of the Joker and
I like
um,
it. Um, and that's being someone who in Batman v Superman, I wasn't the biggest fan at the time of it. I was like, okay, it's like Mad Max, Batman.
But now it makes sense.
Yeah, I figured it always would make sense, but it's I never until I saw like kind of like animated kind of post-apocalyptic world DC, and I was like, I kind of really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because we always have the MacGuffin of someone going back and changing
Yeah.
it. That's even their goal in this sequence. It's like they're very much planning to send Flash back to kind of reverse things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did you know that the Ben Affleck Jared Leto scene was actually not filmed together?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they filmed those two-part Joker and Batman separately and stitched it together.
Wow.
They did a really good job of it. You wouldn't believe they weren't in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I liked I like it as like as a tease to like shoot the threat isn't over.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much teasing what Justice League Part 3 would be like, how do we fix this? I do I don't know if how the audience would accept just like Superman suddenly being evil, because you'd have to fully understand the anti-life equation. It's the anti-life equation that's like in his grief has taken over Superman. That's why he's acting evil. It's not because
Mm-hmm.
like, Lois died, he's just grieving. It's he became susceptible to the anti-life equation, and Darkseid now controls him.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. And I really liked the way Cyborg presented the fear and anxiety over like him appearing.
Mm-hmm.
Because Superman is your villain, not a good day.
Yeah, no, not a fun time. Not a fun time at all.
um, I
I
have to
had
bring up
Go
with the
ahead.
Joker scene. So it took me two views with Leto's Joker to kind of formulate my feelings about it, and I think I like it. Um, it's different. It's but I can kind of see where he's going with it. It's kind of this weird, like he's going the full psychopath version
Mm-hmm.
of Joker. Like I think he's literally and just he's playing it like an insane person. Like it's evolved from what we saw, you know, Gangster Joker and Suicide Squad, and who knows if that's really how that was supposed to play out versus how the theatrical cut made it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I really do like how he's put, even though they have an alliance essentially. It's like he's still like just taunting Batman to like the nth degree on like all the shit he's done to him. Like he's like, and he knows that he needs him, and yet he's gonna still poke at him, poke at the scab, and pull at the scab. Like I killed your son, your adopted son, bitch. Like, and he's
Mm-hmm.
like, just trying to provoke Batman. And I really enjoyed the exchange where he gives him the Joker card as the sign of their truce, which is a callback to BVS because he has the Joker card attached to his gun, which
Mm-hmm.
is like a small little Easter egg that not everyone would probably have noticed. But I like that you see the Joker's hand tremble, and at first you might think, oh, he's just acting. Like I actually think Batman, for once in their battles against each other, I think he fully believed what Batman was saying to him
Mm-hmm.
for a moment before he rationalized it away and reassured himself that not Batman never would go that far.
Yeah.
Um, like his performance really did, to me, anyways. It showed Joker actually scared for half a second. Is not
I took that as both a mixture of fear and like just containing his own wrath that he just wants to kind of get out there. It's kind of like the anger in him and a fear
interesting.
of what's going on.
That's an interesting take too. I was worried about when when it got out that Snyder was going to have Batman say the F word. I was like, how is this? Like, how are they going to fit that in? And
Mm-hmm.
in this scene, and it's like he's like delivering a line where he's like, "Oh, how did it go? It was
And make no mistake.
and make no mistake, I will fucking kill you."
Yeah.
It's like holy shit.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. And I'm like, that was also another moment where I'm like, we need fucking Ben Affleck's Batman movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to see more of this guy as this
Hmm.
Batman. Forget Robert Pattinson and the fucking sparkly vampire
Yeah, no, this Batman works.
baggage.
This,
I really enjoy this Batman. He embodies both Batman and Bruce Wayne.
mhm,
I love that this movie even teased his Batman movie at the end of the movie, which is unfortunate. But
mhm.
who knows with HBO Max being this new outlet, and frankly, streaming is the way everything's going. I know everyone cries foul and they say, "Oh, theater, you can't replace the theatrical experience." I
You
think
totally can. I'm
we're
sorry.
showing that you can. It's
You
a
can.
shame. Yeah, everyone loves the moment at the end of Endgame when the theater goes silent as Tony's about to snap his fingers, and the cheers that you have in the theater. But like, I think those days are numbered. Truthfully, as people have decent setups at home, the convenience of being at home, and just what they can do on a streaming service.
I think this proves that you can get, I want to say a better experience, but you can, and only in the fact that you can get an extended story that you can't get in the theaters. That
Yeah.
this gives you that we would never have had this 4 hour run. Like
Well, that's
the
my point
reality of
about how
that.
you can have a movie as a miniseries. I mean, like as a miniseries, it's like
Mm-hmm.
you can explore a movie in the realm of and length of a miniseries without the interruption of episodes.
Yeah, I think so. One last thing to talk about, hopes for the future. I desperately hope that this is enough of a success for them to then warrant a revisiting of the vision of okay, what are we going to do with this now that this is out there? Do we let it hang on its own, or do we tackle that cliffhanger?
This is a message for the director of The Flash. When Flash returns from his journey through the multiverse, have him return to this timeline. Let's forget where it branched off. Let's come back to the Snyder DCU. This is the most fleshed out, thought out, entertaining form of the DCU we've seen. Like, is the original line, let's just forget the branch timeline, put the Infinity Stones back where you took them from. Let's just move straight
Mm-hmm.
back on this course, because I think Justice League 2 and 3 would have been awesome. You've got clearly the Injustice Gang or Legion of Doom being teased for part 2.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, I know you were kind of wrapping up, but I have some more I have to talk about.
Okay.
I love the brutality of the League's revenge on Steppenwolf and Darkseid at the end, and they with their victory. So like, I like that we get the League losing and winning in the same movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love that it's like the Flash. Okay, where to start? The League, Cyborg's trying to pull apart the mother boxes, preventing the synchronization and the unity. Superman's just thrashing Steppenwolf, just like each time he gets him, he just nails him again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking lasers off his horn, which was brutal.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's just ruthless, and I loved it because that's what you've got to be when your world is. This is not like, oh, I'm gonna kill these civilians if you don't stop me. No, you fucking take them out.
Yeah.
So he's thrashing away, and we're just waiting for Barry to give the charge, and he's running and running, running, and then a Parademon gets a lucky shot off and takes a chunk out of the Flash. Like,
Yeah.
you're just like, and he's so determined to be a hero, to help, to that he's not even telling them that he's basically dying. Like, he's been blown away, and
Mm-hmm.
he's literally willing his body to speed up the healing process, but it's not fast enough, and like, the unity happens and it just blows away the League. The League just essentially evaporate. Like, it's that powerful an explosion.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see how time travel and the Flash's abilities work in this world, which I thought was interesting. It's an interesting way to show it on film. It's like, I enjoyed it because of how powerful it makes the Flash seem. Like, he's like he's so far ahead of everything that the singularity has happened or whatever, the unity's happened, and he has the time in his mind to think no and start reversing. Like he essentially runs back through time and makes his way back to existence to do what he had to do,
Mm-hmm.
even though the event already happened, which is like I thought was incredible.
Yeah.
He's faster than the world, like reforming itself as he's traveling through time, and that might be confusing to some people because of how ambiguous it is as to what's happening. But that's essentially what's happening is he is propelling himself back in time before the explosion,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was really cool. It's like it's like in an instant everything ceased, but he was faster than that.
Yeah.
And so like the league loses to it being reversed. You see like everyone corporealizing and it's not just like they just exist. It's like you see the blood and bone and everything coming back together. And he helps Cyborg, who then pulls the thing apart with Superman. One of my favorite moments is the stare down. You see the portal opening up in Darkseid, and his legions are standing there ready to march on Earth, and you see the League just staring back at him, like you got Superman front and center, like
Mm-hmm.
what like
Yeah. Do it.
Earth is protected. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, and then the portal closes, and I love that moment. I love the moment too that it follows it with Darkseid saying, "We'll use the old way, assemble the Armada." Like it's like
Mm-hmm.
telling you, okay, Darkseid's gonna go away for part two, but he'll be there by the end of that movie. His legions will be showing up.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of love that too because it calls back to one of the animated Superman episodes
Mm.
where Superman and Darkseid finally meet and they're just fighting each other. And Superman actually says he's got some line to him like, "Thank you for doing this." And Darkseid's like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like, "Thank you. I live in a world made of paper, and for once I don't need to hold back." And he's like just pummeling him because of his power, and you start to feel that in this movie where he's just like, as you say, wailing on Steppenwolf, but even then you can see that he's still holding back, that he's not.
He's still holding back, and that's what's so like Snyder, like, and how brutal he is in this. Like, could you imagine what he would have done with like Superman Unleashed in part
Mhm.
three? Like, but let me go back to this. So, like, I like how in that stare down too, it's like it's after they've just disposed of Steppenwolf. Like,
Mhm.
the League is just like, we're sending you a fucking message. Like, so like
Yeah.
Aquaman, it's like he's like ready to attack, and Aquaman impales him with the trident, and he's like, and it's like fully like impales him, and he flips up, and the Superman just punches him off the trident to head him towards the portal, and that's still not enough. Wonder Woman does her fucking leap thing, and then just beheads his ass,
Just cuts his
and
head off.
just lands at Darkseid's foot, which he just crushes because the guy's a failure to Darkseid because he didn't
Yeah.
give it. I I know it's brutal, but I loved it. I
I
loved
loved
every
it.
second of that.
Yeah.
They're like sending a message like, no, Earth is protected. Stand
Hmm.
down. I can't wait for what might
Yeah.
not ever happen. But
I hope it does. I
yeah,
just hope it does.
it was such that was such a league moment. Like it's not the Saturday morning cartoon league. It's the league that would probably exist if this was a real thing. Like it's
Hmm.
we have armies that go to war, and they unfortunately, there's killing and death, and frankly, this kind of this kind of stakes, this is what would happen. Like
Yeah.
there would be that level of violence. Um, then we get the tease of Ben Affleck's movie and Injustice, the gang. Like it's both Luthor assembling like a team of villains. You also got him teasing. What did you feel about that with Deathstroke? Like the tease for Affleck's movie is clearly when Luthor gives them the tidbit that Batman is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. I thought that was, again, it wasn't a drastic departure from what was in the last one with Luther being there, but I enjoyed it. And I was like, and I'm not a big Deathstroke fan, so I don't really care that he's in it per se. But I think it's interesting to see that, okay, Luther's assembling his own league. So I look forward to seeing
Yeah.
what this is going to turn into.
I like
Like
that. What it
it
even
just
hints at
fills you
with
with the comic book nerd, and you're like, okay,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, let's see that too. Dark side, I want to see that part. Oh, and I
Well,
want to see
just
this
think
part.
just think they're implying that Deathstroke lost his eye to Batman,
Yep.
so he wants payback. Now he knows who Batman is. He could tear apart his life. Like I want to read Affleck's script, man. Like that
Hmm.
because I feel like that movie is the movie we really wanted to get, and it never happened.
Yep.
I hope it still can happen because we need more of his Batman. We need more of all these characters, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, it's just it. The casting is mostly spot on. Some might disagree with Ezra Miller as Flash. I disagree with Ezra Miller as Barry Allen versus as the Flash. I'm kind of okay with him as Flash. Uh, he's just not very Barry Allen. He's very I don't know how to describe him. He's
He's
not
more
quite Wally either.
impulse. He's
Yeah,
more,
I think you're right. It's more like impulse than anything.
yeah, he's Bart Allen. He's not Barry Allen.
Sometimes annoying, but does the job. Uh, but
It's
like every time, like nothing's ever going to be spot on. Like
no,
Ben Affleck's Batman is definitely not the comics Batman per se, but it's still Batman. Like they got the core right. I wish that he didn't run like a slalom
I,
kind of athlete or something.
I
I don't know what
hate
the
his running.
like.
The waving arms. It's so
So like, I
goofy.
hope they tweak that a little bit with the Flash movie, just a little
Yeah.
bit. Um, like I kind of get where he's going, where he gets it, what he's going for, but it
It
doesn't
doesn't
work.
translate. Yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't translate. I think it's very funny that a movie that is so dark and so grim fills me with so much hope.
I know, right? Because it is about hope. Like even though it highlights it exemplifies the theme of hope,
Hmm.
even though it's in the face of like untamed violence.
Yeah,
Like it was
and
just
total despair.
yeah.
But
Oh man.
it just works in that regard.
But that is the fourth world, like that. Oh, like just imagine like their version of Mr. Miracle and Barda. Like,
Big Barda in this world would be brutal.
who would you cast as Barda? Like, it would have to be someone of presence. There have to be.
Oh, yeah, I
Man, I
don't
can't even
know.
think. But like, that could be another episode where we fan cast Justice
Fan
League too.
cast.
Um,
But yeah, I think this is probably a good. We've run very long on this, and I knew that we would. Um, but I think
it's the Snyder cut of the Terminal Velocity.
I am very much still inclined to go and watch this again for the two and a half to third time, just to ingest it all again because it's worth it. It's been worth the wait.
It's a long watch, but it's worth your time.
It is very much worth your time. If you've seen the original Justice League, you benefit so much from seeing this version. This is, I can't believe I'm eating so much shit on this one, but it is very much a worthwhile movie. And this is where DC does need to go. They were right all those years ago when they said that this was the vision and that this was where they were going with it. They were right. And we should never have deviated from this plan. It should be going.
One of these days, I'll go back to one of our earlier original episodes and find out what I actually said, but I'm fairly certain I was still on board with it. Um, if I wasn't, then I'm happy to eat this shit too because it's
I'm
this was
happy to
great.
eat it because this has been
This
so
this is
worthwhile.
this is the Justice League we should have got in response to Infinity War or Endgame or
Mm-hmm.
Avengers or like this is what people and you know what maybe in 2017 people weren't ready for this.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, but boy are people ready for it now, and I think that it's starting to show. And like as an executive at WB, like you could eat crow for 5 minutes, but rake in the money.
Mm-hmm.
So like put egos aside and really take a deep look at this because you're running amok with the current direction, which is directionless. Like it's like they're giving the directors the control that they should have gave Snyder and the original people that were on
Mm-hmm.
board and didn't. But and then it's I'm sure that these movies have fans of their own, like Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman 84 and stuff. But it's so directionless, and it's so
Yeah.
like subpar and inferior to what we're seeing, and especially when you look at Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League all as one cohesive story, which it is.
Hmm.
Um, I just
I
this
really want
is
to see more.
I,
I want to see more.
they need to do whatever they need to do. They need to like sorry, it's just remember something from the Joker scene that I totally forgot about. I was going to ask you about. How did you? I laugh at it because it's so jar. It's like it was a jarring moment with the Joker, but it also fit like his version, where he's like, you're not gonna kill me. Who would give you a reach around? And I'm just
Yeah.
that
That was a
only
that was
Jared
one of
Leto
the
Joker could say that though, like that,
the Joker
and yet
could and
it
would
fit.
potentially say that, at least the Air version. I just kind of was like, that's like a lame joke.
Low hanging fruit, but
Low hanging fruit that I would have expected from the Whedon version. I didn't necessarily expect it from this one.
I kind of think it defines that Joker a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I forget where I was going on that. My low grade humor, sense of humor got the best of me.
That's okay.
But I really want to see them to kind of backtrack and look at, like, let's have a cohesive vision, because there's a point where I was even looking at this and I was like, because we also now have Shazam. Black Adam's about to start, is like in the very like cusp of filming. It's not too late for them to not, they don't have to change much, but like if they got like too much of the goofy lighthearted, maybe quickly look at that and maybe scale it back a bit so
Hmm.
that it's still in line with this. Because I was thinking, well, you could have Shazam show up, or Black Adam now at this point, or whoever, to show up in a sequel for Justice League, and it would work.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I think you
Shazam
could.
could
I
definitely
think
be in
I,
there.
I think Shazam would still work in this movie. He would be the comic relief, obviously.
Hmm.
Wouldn't it be fun to see him and Ezra Miller's Flash like interacting? They're both childlike, and it would have been fun. One is a child, but
Hmm.
I think it would be very it would be an interesting dynamic, and I think that now that we're here, the league's established. Let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah, I agree. So if any of you agree with us, you can send us a comment or an email, comment at terminalvelocitypodcast.com, or an email at terminalvelocitypodcast@gmail.com. And you can let us know your thoughts and opinions on all of this, and whether you agree that maybe back then you wouldn't have wanted this, but now that you've got it, this is definitely what you were looking for. Yeah, go ahead.
And if you like the Justice League version better, or you hated this, or you loved it, let us know on Twitter at Comics Terminal. We'd be happy to hear from you and have that conversation.
Mm-hmm. And until next week, I will be going back and watching this throughout the coming weeks, whenever I can
Well, hold
find
on. I'm
time.
I'm gonna reverse time like the Flash here. I have to ask you, what is your rating for Justice League?
It's not perfect, but by God, I give this 5 out of 5. I do. I give it a 5 out of 5 on it. This was everything I didn't know I was hoping for from the Justice League, and it fixes everything that I had seen from before it.
Nice. I would also give this 5 exploding parademon heads as Batman blows them off with a laser shotgun, out of 5.
Very good. So until next time, we will see you later.
Good.